This is such an important clip of an Israeli historian revealing some information about the origins of Palestinians, quote unquote, the Arabs that have been in this plot of land, who claim they've been there well before the Jews and for centuries. And, you know, it's all those annoying Zionist Jews who came along later that made all these problems. Have a watch of what she reveals is the truth about the demographics of this land.
ב-1919 הבריטים, זה לא היה ממש מפקד, אבל הם ערכו ספירה, והם הגיעו למסקנה שיש 519,000 מוסלמים בארץ. עכשיו אם תיקח את הספר השני שלי, אתה יכול לראות איך המספר של המוסלמים הולך וגדל.
המוסלמים מתחילים ב-590,000 מוסלמים, עוברים ל-760,000 מוסלמים, עוברים למיליון מוסלמים.
גידול של המוסלמים זה לא רק ריבוי טבעי. ועכשיו, מה קרה? הבריטים בגדו בנו. גם כשהם הצהירו את הצהרת בלפור, המטרה העיקרית שלהם היה לתקוע יתד במזרח התיכון, לסלק את העות'מאנים ולהשתלט על המזרח התיכון, נפט ודרכי המעבר של ים סוף ותעלת סואץ. זאת הייתה הסיבה. אינטרסים אימפריאליים, והם ניצלו על הגב שלנו. הם לא התכוונו לתת לנו שום דבר. הם כל הזמן שיתפו פעולה. הם הקימו מוסדות לערבים, לא היו להם פה מוסדות, הם הקימו להם. והדבר החשוב ביותר, ממשלת המנדט נתנה הוראה, ויש פה, הבאתי את המסמכים, לחיל הספר הירדני, להתעלם מההסתננות של ערבים לארץ ישראל. התחילה הסתננות משמעותית מסוריה, לבנון, ירדן, מעיראק ומחצי האי ערב ומתימן, סוריה, לבנון, ירדן,
זה פשוט.
ומצרים, זאת לא בעיה להגיע.
נכון.
יש נתונים, למשל ממצרים, זה מופיע אצלי, שמספר האוכלוסין במצרים ירד, מפני שהם העבירו תושבים לארץ, כי הם סבלו מעודפי אוכלוסייה. ב-1925, זיכרוני אינו מטעני, מסילת הברזל ממצרים לארץ הושלמה, ויכולת לעלות בקהיר ולרדת ברפיח, אף אחד לא שאל אותך שום דבר.
האם בתקופה הזאת המוטיבציה היא מהגרי עבודה, או המוטיבציה זה לשנות את הדמוגרפיה?
לא.
אין
להם שום תודעה, זה ערבים מארצות שונות שמחפשים תנאים יותר טובים. הסיבה היחידה זה מהגרי עבודה. תראה, התנועה הציונית השקיעה פה כסף. ארגונים נוצריים, למשל הטמפלרים, השקיעו פה כסף. הם פיתחו את הכלכלה. ממשלת המנדט פיתחה את הכלכלה. כל המספרים מופיעים פה. תקופה כלכלית בלתי רגילה. שהיהודים מביאים פה לארץ. עכשיו, אני רוצה להראות לך כמה מסמכים שמוכיחים מעבר לכל ספק, שאלה שהגיעו לארץ, הגיעו מכל קצוות העולם הערבי.
כמות הערבים שאתה יכול לבוא ולהגיד שנמצאים פה מ-640, היא מאוד 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 זניחה.
לא יותר מ-30,000, אפילו אם תגיד 100,000, זה לא רציני. עכשיו תראה, יש אתר שמות משפחה, ולפי שמות המשפחה, אתה יודע מאיפה הם באו. אום אל פחם, לפני כמה שנים, פרסמו אתר, ששם הם אמרו את האמת, מאיפה הם כולם הגיעו, ומתי, בערבית. ואני מביאה פה את כל החמולות, מאיפה הם באו,
ומתי.
וכמה. כששמעו באום אל פחם, שזה תורגם לעברית, הם מחקו את זה.
So I encourage you to do your own research. What we're told is that there was like a strong Arab presence in the land for such a long time, and the Jews came and kicked them all out. Well, it turns out that yes, there was a small Arab presence, exactly as she noted, but the Jews had been there far before that, and they were kicked out by the Romans, and then they renamed it Palestina, which by the way was referencing an ancient extinct enemy of the Jews that came from Greece, nothing to do with the Arabs that are there now. And then from the 7th century onwards, when after Islam was created, they conquered the territory, but there was only a very small Arab and Islamic population there. And then various nations and empires took control of the land, never created a sovereign entity there. And then from the 1800s onwards, don't forget, by the way, Jews always maintained a small presence in the land despite being forcibly displaced. But from the 1800s onwards, there was a campaign for Jews to start saying, let's go back and purchase land legally and invest in this land and try and restore sovereignty here. And that's what happened. And as the Jews started returning there, more and more Arabs from across the Arab world came to the land because the Jews provided economic opportunity. Do you see how they've completely twisted everything? And they make it out as if the Jews came in and kicked everyone out. No, there was no kicking out. There was purchasing of land from willing Arab landowners, by the way. And also much of the land by the 1900s was controlled by the British Mandate, not Arabs. Most of the land was public land. Also, on top of that, a really important point is that from the late 1800s, Jerusalem was majority Jewish. Majority Jewish because Jerusalem wasn't that significant to Muslims. It only became significant because of the Jewish connection to the land, and they want dominance and supremacy over the region and really the world. But this is so important, isn't it, to realise this fact, that the whole story has been completely inverted. This has been the Jewish people's homeland. There's only one unique group of people who have a unique claim to this plot of land. It's not to say that Jews have a problem with non-Jews living in this territory, but we just have one little requirement, which is that you don't try to kill us. And Jews were even happy to have a state alongside a Jewish state, but the Arabs rejected that. And for those who say, well, they're a unique group of people who want a unique self-determination, that is not what they've told us throughout their history. If they would have won in 1948, well, this is what the land would have looked like. Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Lebanon would all have a chunk of the land. There'd be no freed Palestine. It's all nonsense. It's all nonsense. The Torah talks about, at the end of history, Moses warns the Jewish people. He says, at the end of history, you will provoke God with your non-gods, meaning, straying from his path. So God will provoke you with a non-people. A non-people. A lo'am in Hebrew. I think that describes the Palestinians perfectly. The whole thing they've created is a lie from beginning to end. They are Arabs, part of the Arab world, indigenous to the Arab world, and their only agenda with the Palestinian cause is to destroy the Jewish state. It's not about restoring sovereignty. They never were interested in that. It's just the latest mutation of the age-old virus of anti-Semitism. Before we wrap up, I want to share something important with you. The entire anti-Israel movement is built on one central accusation, that in 1948, Israel stole the land, and ever since, Palestinians have simply been resisting. But what if everything we've been told about this story is untrue? What if the real history of 1948 shows not Arabs being forced out, but Jews, while seeking peace, having to fight for their survival against a genocidal enemy that willed its destruction long before Israel's re-establishment? Have a watch of the trailer for our new, groundbreaking and essential documentary entitled What Really Happened in 1948. And if you want to see the full film, just click the link in the video description. In 1948, the world witnessed the rebirth of the Jewish state, the State of Israel. A moment celebrated as a miracle of survival and self-determination after centuries of persecution and the horrors of the Holocaust. Yet for decades, this event has been twisted into a narrative of theft and catastrophe, with the so-called Nakba portrayed as Israel's original sin, where Jews allegedly stole Arab land and displaced innocents in a premeditated act of ethnic cleansing. But what if this story is fundamentally inverted? What if the cause and effect are the other way around? Not Israel aggressively seizing territory and Arabs responding in self-defense, but Arabs, driven by deep-seated hatred, rejecting the Jews' legal and historical rights to live in their ancestral homeland and waging a genocidal war long before Israel's re-establishment. In this JTV Plus documentary, we're going to uncover the unvarnished truth about 1948, the centuries of pogroms and anti-Semitic violence that set the stage, the Arab leaders' explicit calls for extermination, and the defensive war Israel fought to secure its existence. We'll challenge the pervasive lies head-on, showing how Arab rejection of peace wasn't about creating a Palestinian state, but about denying Jews the right to live at all. From the Nazi-allied leader of the Arabs in Palestine, the Mufti al-Husseini, to the forgotten occupations by Jordan and Egypt, when no Palestinian state was even considered, this is the story of a conflict rooted not in displacement, but in whether the Jews deserve to live in their homeland. Join us as we debunk the myths with facts, confront the historical record fairly but firmly, and reveal why 1948 was not an act of aggression, but a righteous response to annihilation. This is what really happened in 1948. To watch this JTV Plus documentary and access much more premium content, click on the link in the video description.